Yes, good afternoon, students. Um, Once you're logged onto the YouTube live, please indicate that you're present in the chat section. So, in terms of communication, the communication will be done via the YouTube chat section. Now, of course, you can also communicate via WhatsApp. So in terms of the platform, I will be using the YouTube live mostly. So once you're on the YouTube live, please indicate in the chat section that you're hearing clearly, because I want to ensure that the sound quality is good enough so that you can hear what is going on. So I'm seeing that persons are saying that they are present on WhatsApp, but I really need to see those who are on the YouTube live, because that's where the class will actually be. Yes, I will be sending the notes or the PowerPoint presentation in WhatsApp, but in terms of the explanation and all of that, it will be done on YouTube. So just waiting for class to join. Okay, so I'm gonna actually start now. Realize that 5 persons actually on. So I'm gonna start the class. So pleasant good afternoon to you all. I am Mr. Thomas. I will be your human and social biology teacher for the school year 2021 to 2022. So in terms of human and social biology, it is of course a CXC subject, which of course it is offered up to the CXC level. So in terms of the study guide, we will be following what is known as the syllabus. So on the screen, so this is the syllabus for it. Yes, I'm seeing a student saying that they are hearing me clearly. But I just want persons to indicate that they are present on the chat section of the YouTube live. Now, students, please remember that you need to log on as early as you can, because the class only lasts one session. Class only gonna last until 1:50. So we really don't have a lot of time during a one session class, but we're still gonna get something done. So this is the syllabus. I will be sending the syllabus through or via WhatsApp. So in terms of what we're going to look at today, the topic will be living organisms and the environment. So that's where we're going to actually start. In a nutshell, we will be looking at what is called the characteristics of living things. So as time goes by, you will be able to scan through the syllabus and make your own assessment or judgment of the syllabus. So I'm really going to actually start the class now. So as you can see, living and non-living things of the environment. And of course, this word environment, persons by now should at least have an idea as to what that word means. So your environment is basically any and everything around you or within your surrounding. That is what is known as your environment. So environment normally consists of things that are known as living things and some that are known as non-living things. So on this slide here, the first point is saying we are surrounded by living and non-living things. So that is actually a fact. So right away, I can ask you to give me some examples of things that you consider to be living, and you can make a whole long list. I can also ask you to give me a list of things that you would consider non-living. So basically what I'm saying, you should be able to differentiate or put the things within your environment into two different categories, one living and the other one non-living. So they are saying that all animals and plants are living things, and biology is the study of these living things. So everything that you consider to be plant, everything that you consider to be animal, those are classified as living things. So the banana tree, the plantain tree, the gongo tree, the yam plant, the apple tree, the orange tree, tree, all of those plants, they are considered to be living. In terms of animals, which human include, cow, goat, donkey, dog, cat, all of those, they are considered to be living things. On the other hand now, I can ask you to give me some examples of things that you would consider non-living. So non-living things basically don't have life. So a piece of wood, a piece of metal, nail, and the list goes on. The rake you have at home, machete, fork, shovel, decks, chair, all of those, they are considered to be non-living things. Now, you know that the things that are within your environment, we put them into different categories, which of course the two categories are living and non-living things. So right away, guys, I'm going to tell you from now that going to be a question that you will see coming up on your tests, on your examinations. And simply mean that I will be asking you to give me a list of things in your environment that is living, and a list of things in your environment that you would consider to be non-living. Because right now you're at home, now right away I can ask you to give me a list of things that are living within your environment now. So if your mommy is at home, you would say that yes, she is living. If you see a fly or an ant near you, then you will say that those are living. As for non-living things within your household, your bed, your table, your chairs, those are non-living. So please have that question in mind. So let's move on in terms of the concept. Now, the fact that we have living and non-living things, there must be something that you're going to use to differentiate or tell what are living and what are non-living. There must be something. And that is where the characteristics of living things come into play now. Now we have 7 characteristics that we're going to focus on. So these 7 characteristics, you will find these in all things that are living: movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion, and nutrition. So these 7 characteristics, they are actually common to all things that are living. So everything that you consider to be living, they should have all these 7 characteristics. Now, things that are non-living will have some of these characteristics, but not all. So the only way you can consider something to be living, it must have all of these 7 characteristics. So what we're going to be doing next is that we're now going to look at these 7 characteristics individually. So persons who are just logging on in terms of the YouTube live, if for example you're not able to join the class at the start, once you click on the link, you can replay the link. That simply means that you can slide that play button there and take it back to the beginning of the class. If you're not present at class and you want to view the class later or tomorrow, you can just simply click on the link and you still will be able to actually see what would have took place in the class. So that's the good thing about YouTube Live. The video will always be there on YouTube for you to watch and rewatch. So next year you want to rewatch this class, you just simply go on YouTube, go on the channel or click on the link, and then you will be able to rewatch the video. Alright, so let's go into the first characteristic of living thing. Now this first characteristic, it is known as movement. So the first pointer is saying that this is an action by an organism or part of an organism causing a change of position or place. So an action by an organism or part of an organism causing a change of position or place. So let's, for example, you're sitting now around your device, your laptop or your desktop, or you have your tablet or your phone. If you're just simple moving a finger, that is what is called movement. If you're just simple moving your head, that is what is known as movement. So you're changing position, mean that you're turning. That is actually what is known as movement. Animal must move about and search for food. So right away, that is one importance of movement. So I can give you a question asking you to tell me the importance of movement. Why do you think humans need to move? So you can tell me that so that they can search for food. Now the last point now, movement of the entire body is called locomotion. So of course these two terms, movement and locomotion, persons normally confuse them, would normally confuse them at times. Now there is a slight difference between the term movement and the term locomotion. Now movement basically is whenever you're moving a part of your body. So the finger, you're just moving a finger, you're just moving one of your leg, you're moving one of your arm, that is called movement. Now the diagram that you're seeing, now these persons, they're actually running or jogging, if you want to say that. No, that is actually called locomotion. So in we looking at this first characteristic, it is movement slash locomotion. So locomotion is whenever the entire body is in motion. So you're moving from point A to point B, mean that you're walking or you're running or you're jogging, you're swimming. That is called locomotion. So student, you must know the meaning or the definition for that term, locomotion. So let's move on to another characteristic. So right away we would have complete one characteristic of living thing, and that would be movement slash locomotion. So let's move on to the second characteristic of living thing. Now, student, if you want to ask me a question, please ask me via the chat in the YouTube chat section there. So you can just simply type your question, or you can use the WhatsApp platform, but I would prefer the YouTube live, and the YouTube live more than the WhatsApp. So let's go into respiration. So I'm going to try to see if I can complete at least 3 of the characteristics. As you can see, it is now 1:50, so the class time basically would have ended now. So let's see if we can go to respiration quickly. So respiration, so the release of energy from food, substances to do work in the body. That is what is known as respiration. So they say that it is the release of energy. Now you will realize that you would have just have lunch, you would have breakfast this morning. So one of the reasons why you had breakfast and lunch is because you want energy to move around, move from point A to point B. The human body needs energy to stay alive. So the process by which the energy comes out of that food that you would have consumed this morning is called respiration. It is as simple as that. So as you can see, the first pointer, respiration, the release of energy from food substances to do work in the body. So let's say, for example, your heart want to pump some blood. In order for your heart to pump the blood, the heart gonna need some energy. Where the heart gonna get that energy from? It must be the food that you would have consumed. You understand? So what I can do is that I can ask you this question: what is the process by which energy is released in the human body? Now your answer for that question should be respiration, and that is what the pointer there is saying. Now I'm seeing that somebody is asking why I don't use the Google Classroom platform. Now student, the main reason why I'm not using Google Classroom platform is simple because a lot of persons don't have the login for the Google platform, and I want every student to be in my class. So that's the reason why I'm not using it. When I use YouTube Live, then once you're on WhatsApp and you click on the link, then you can use the YouTube Live. Now in terms of Google Classroom, I will be using Google Classroom. I will be posting the notes. I will your tests, all of those will be done on Google Classroom. But in terms of me explaining the notes and teaching the class, it will be done on this platform. So yes, Google Classroom will be used in terms of me posting the notes. So let's move to the next pointer. Oxygen from the air combines with food. Now, in terms of the energy being released, in terms of the energy coming out of the food, the energy not just gonna walk out of the food like that. There must be a process. There must be more than one substance actually involved in that process, and that is where oxygen come into play. So when we are taking oxygen, when we are breathing oxygen, oxygen basically help the human body to actually release the energy. Okay, so you don't just take in oxygen just like that. There's a reason why you actually take in oxygen, and you take in the oxygen too. Simple, because oxygen aid in that process in terms of their body cells releasing the energy. Now moving down to the third pointer, water and carbon dioxide are produced and excrete as waste materials. So while the human body is releasing energy, which you would say that is something positive, the human body is also producing what you would call waste material or waste products. And those two waste materials or waste product, they would be water and carbon dioxide. So right away, this is another question that surely going to ask you is for you to give me example of waste material that are produced during the process of respiration. Or I could rephrase the question and say, while the human body cells are releasing energy, can you give me two waste products or two waste material that are normally released? And those would be carbon dioxide and water. So let's move to the next characteristic of living things. So students would have gone through two, movement would be one. So again, that is the entire list that we're going to look at individually. Now I'm seeing somebody now saying that most students do not have enough data. Now please remember that for YouTube, remember that YouTube, it is a social media platform, which simply means that the service providers give you free access to YouTube once you have on data. So data, YouTube don't use data. So let's continue. Now after class we'll look at those questions. Don't ask me those questions during class, please, and thank you. Alright, so sensitivity or irritability. Now why we have these two terms is that some textbook will use the term sensitivity while others will use irritability. So they are saying the same thing. So question, if I should ask you to give me two examples of characteristic of living things, remember the question I'm saying, I will be, let's say for example, ask for you to give me two examples. So number one is sensitivity and number two would be movement, for example. So please don't use sensitivity and as number one and irritability as number two. You will be only getting 1 mark for that because both of them basically saying the same thing. So sensitivity or irritability, the ability to detect or sense changes in the environment and to make a response. So as you can see in the diagram there, basically you're seeing a stove, you're actually seeing somebody holding the pot. Now this individual, for example, might not realize that yes, the pot is actually hot. Now once he or she realizes that the pot is hot, then they're going to remove the hand very quickly from the pot there. So sensitivity is for human being, for example, or for living things to detect that yes, there's a change in the environment, and once they detect that there's a change in the environment, then they will respond accordingly. So let's say for example you're walking normally on the road and you plan to cross the road, you look left, you look right, there was no vehicle coming. All of a sudden when you reach the middle of the road, you see a car coming. Now that now will be a change in your environment. Now the fact that you realize that a car is coming, then your response to that car coming at you must be for you to try to cross the road much faster. So you would be running, for example, or walk a bit faster. So that is you responding to the change in your environment. So anything in your environment that allow you to make a change, it is known as stimuli or stimulus. So stimuli is whenever you're talking about more than one. So stimuli is the plural. So whenever you're talking about more than one things, in terms of in your environment, you would use stimuli. Stimulus is whenever you're talking about one. So sensitivity / irritability, again, it is the ability for any living thing to detect that there's a change in their environment, and not only to detect, but also to actually make a response. Alright, so I'm seeing somebody asking a question. Sir, what if the pot is burning him or her and he or she is still holding onto it? Very good question. Excellent question. Now, that would be somebody who actually decide to hold onto the pot. Now, sensitivity is talking about somebody who is reacting normally. Because you will have some stupid persons that will actually decide that, guess what, I'm going to hold on to that hot pot. Now, that is completely different from this situation. Now, whenever you're looking at the characteristics of living things, we're talking about normal persons thinking normally in normal condition. So if an individual realize that the pot is hot and they decide that they're going to continue holding on to that pot, then that is not a normal person thinking normally. We are talking about you thinking logically, thinking about the danger that you're in terms of that situation. So a very excellent question. So, and we can look at the question from another standpoint, meaning that yes, the person will realize that the pot is hot, but the person decide that he or she gonna still continue hold on to that pot. Now, the fact that the person have it in their mind that they're gonna continue hold on to that pot, then that is the response for that person. So, sensitivity, you realize the environment and the response that you make to that change to that environment. So what I want persons to do is that I don't want you to just understand just one part of sensitivity and not the other part. Because if you look at the pointer, you realize that it said that the ability to detect or sense changes in the environment. That is one part of it. The next part of it said, and to make responses. Okay, so you need to understand that in terms of the responses, it should be a favorable response. It should be something positive and not something negative. Because one of the main reasons why human actually born with that ability to of course detect changes within their environment is for them to come out of danger. Because right away, that's another question that I'm sure I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you, what is the importance of sensitivity? So if I should ask you that question, what is the importance of sensitivity? Then you should now tell me that the importance of sensitivity is to take or get out of danger. So that is why I would have used examples in terms of you crossing the road and you look left, you look right, you never see a vehicle coming. All of a sudden, when you reach the middle of the road, you see a vehicle coming. So you being able to sense that a vehicle is coming and you run across the road now, then that is now you avoiding danger. So that's an importance of sensitivity. Right, so students, it's what, 2 o'clock now? 2 minutes after 2. Yeah, I would have gone over the class time by 10 minutes. So as I said, the video now, for those persons who want to replay it after class tomorrow or next year, then they can. That's a good thing about YouTube Live. The video will always be there. So if there is something that I never understand properly, you can always replay the video. So in terms of the platforms that I will be using the Google Classroom, the YouTube Live, and the WhatsApp. I will be using all 3. So as I said, some persons are asking why I don't use Google Classroom. A lot of students don't have the login, and I don't want to leave any student behind. In terms of the Google Classroom, I will be using it to post the notes, a PowerPoint presentation. As you can see, I'm using a PowerPoint presentation. I will be sending the PowerPoint presentation in the WhatsApp group, so you can open it, download it, print it, or view it and write the notes. So next class persons should have the notes related to the characteristics of living things, because I'm going to post it in the WhatsApp group and also on the Google Classroom platform. So thanks for those persons who would have logged on, your classmates, persons who you know would have missed the class. You can just simply share the link with them for them to actually view it. So Thank you, students. That's it for today. Have a productive day. Now you can move on to your next class. So thank you, students. See you next time.